Hey teachers, do your students love classroom escape rooms? I've been working in curriculum development for over 5 years now after being in a classroom teaching for several years, and it's really interesting because over the past year we have seen this crazy rise in the demand for classroom escape rooms, and it's one of the most requested items that we are getting from teachers in districts right now. But what I want to do today is I want to show you how to create your very own classroom escape rooms and how to take those escape rooms digital by creating them inside of Google Forms. So I'm going to walk you through how I create escape rooms inside of Google Forms, and I'm going to show you all kinds of Google Forms tips and tricks along the way. So let's get started. So recently, I created a series of standards-aligned science escape rooms that students can complete digitally inside of Google Forms. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to walk you through the exact way that I created each of those escape rooms inside of Google Forms by showing you one of them. And just so you know, the process that I'm about to show you, you can either create your escape room on a PDF or a PowerPoint and then move it into Google Forms, or you can just create directly inside of Google Forms. But this is how you're going to set everything up inside of Google Forms. And the great thing about doing it this way is it's self-checking. So whether your students are learning in the classroom or at home, they're able to self-check and review their answers when they're finished, which I think is an awesome tool. Also, if you're looking for ways to collect grades, this is a great way to do it without you having to go through and grade a whole bunch of work. So let's go ahead and jump on my computer. I'm going to walk you through the process right now. All right, so I have this escape room that I created inside of PowerPoint. It's got kind of a story that students read in the beginning, and then it's got 6 challenges, and then at the end, once they've completed it, the story kind of concludes. So what I want to do is I want to move this this escape room over into Google Forms. So as you can see, I've opened up a new form, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to title this. So this is a geology escape room, and when I click on the title here, whatever I've typed up here is automatically going to just transfer over. If you want to change it, you can. Then I am going to come up here to the settings, and to make sure that this is self-checking, I'm going to click on quizzes, and then I'm going to select make this a quiz, and basically this will allow me to assign point values to each of the challenges, and it will allow students to check their answers once they submit it. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. So the first thing I am going to do is I'm going to introduce students to the story. I always like to start my escape rooms with some kind of story to get students interested. And this particular one, they find themselves trapped in a room and they have to complete 6 challenges to unlock 6 locks. I have other ones where they're in a haunted house and they're trying to escape the haunted house, or history ones where they've time traveled back in history and now they have to complete challenges to fix their time machine, to go back forward. But creating a fun story is just going to make your students even more invested and engaged. So to keep this simple, I'm just going to copy and paste the story that I've written out and go back to the form. And you'll see it's already given me my first question here. So I'm going to put this, I'm just going to paste it by clicking Control V where the question should go, and you might need to go through and fix some formatting like I just did right there. What I'm going to do next is I like to add if you want to add a description to your question, you can click on those 3 dots and click description, and this will give you another space to add text under your main stem or body of text for a question. So I'm just going to type here, are you ready to start your journey? And then for the options, I'm going to put yes, and I'm going to put no. And if I go back to this, you'll also see that I have a picture to go along with my story. I have saved this picture to my computer, so now I'm going to upload that into the Google form as well. So I'm just gonna click the picture icon, and I'm gonna find that image on my computer, and I'm going to upload it. Okay, so now you can see that I've got my image. The next thing I want to do is I want to add in the answer. So basically when they click yes, I want the escape room to actually begin. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to click required. So basically they're gonna be required to click yes, and then it will take them to the next question. So I'm gonna click on answer key, and I'm gonna click yes because that is the correct answer. And then I'm going to click done. Oh, and one other thing I forgot to show you, when you click on answer key, you can also assign points. Since this isn't an actual question that gauges the content, I'm not gonna assign a point value to it. This is just something to engage them, to get them started. So I'm gonna click done when I'm finished putting in the answer information. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to set this up so that it only goes to the first question if they click yes. And when you're in Google Forms, you can set it up so that it only moves on to the next question if they answer one question correctly. But just so you know, you can only do this with multiple choice questions. So since this is a multiple choice, I can set that up. I'm going to click on these three dots again, and then I'm going to click on go to section based on answer. And you will see these options pop up next to all of my answer choices. So I can click the drop-down menu, and if students click yes, I want them to continue to the next section. If they click no, I want them to stay on this section that they're on until they click yes. So this is section 1, so I'm just gonna click on this. And so basically students are going to have to answer yes to go on to the next question. If they answer no, it's just gonna stay right here. So now I've introduced students to the problem. Now I'm gonna start adding in my challenges. And to do that, I'm gonna click on this double line right here. And basically what this is going to do is it's gonna create a break after this question, and it's going to create a new section. And when you set things up this way, it will prevent students from being able to see everything at one time. It's going to make it so that they can only see one challenge at a time. So I'm going to click on this, and you'll see it's created a new section. And when students interact with this, they're only going to be able to see one section at a time. So let's go back. My first one is a vocabulary puzzle activity. So station 1, vocabulary puzzle, and I'm going to copy by clicking Control-C the directions. If you're working directly inside of Google Forms, you can type in here. I'm just saving myself some time by copying and pasting since I've already created that. But I'm going to title this Station 1 Vocabulary Puzzle because that's the name of the challenge. And then I am going to add my question, and I'm going to click Control-V to paste the question in. Now I just need to check the formatting and proofread this a little bit because the PowerPoint version was created for the classroom. So I have to make sure the instructions are specific to digital. So you can see right here I have write. Obviously they're not writing. So I'm going to change this a little bit. I'm going to say match the term to the correct definition by matching the correct letter to the correct number. And you'll see what that means in just a second. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do, if I come back here, so basically for this activity, they have all these puzzle pieces and they're matching the term to the definition. So I want students to actually be able to see all these puzzle pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of the puzzle pieces. So you'll see when I click and drag over all of those, it highlights everything because I've got a lot of different things going on here. And then I'm going to right click and say save as picture. And then I'm going to save this as either a JPEG or a PNG to my computer. Okay, so I saved that image to my computer and now I'm going to bring it up here. I'm going to click the image. I'm going to click browse and then I'm going to find that image on my computer and upload it here. Okay, so you can see I uploaded that image and now students can see it just like this, which is a lot more fun than just typing in a bunch of things and having students match it. So whenever I have a matching type of question for my escape room, I find that the best way to do these is if you click on this drop-down menu, this will give you all of the question types, and I'm gonna use a multiple choice grid. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in the different letters, because remember I put up here in the instructions, match the correct letter to the correct definition, and they'll be able to look at the picture to see which letter and number each thing represents. So we have A through E and 1 through 5. I'm going to require students to put a response in each row, and then I'm going to click on this to add an answer key. I'm going to make each item worth 1 point, and then I'm going to put in the correct answers. So the correct answer to A is 4, got B1, C5, D3, and E2. And then I'm just going to click done, and my answers are saved. And that's everything that I'm going to do for the first challenge. So I just showed you how to use a multiple choice grid. Let's go ahead and click on the add section and create section 3. And we're going to add in station number 2. And if I go back over here, station number 2 is an activity called State the Facts. And for this one, they're going to read a bunch of statements that are either true or false. And for each one, they're going to write down a number, and then they're going to find their total at the end. So I'm going to start by copying and pasting the instructions. So Control C. Then if I come back over, first of all, I'm going to type the title of the activity, and I'm going to click the plus sign to add my question, and I'm going to click Control V to paste that question in. I'm going to adjust the formatting and make sure that it is good for digital, and I always like to give specific instructions. So type the number in the space provided. I always like to make sure students know exactly what they're going to do. And then I'm going to do like I did before. I'm going to save this chart as a JPEG or a PNG to my computer, and then I'm going to upload it to that form. Okay, so we've got the chart embedded here. I just clicked here and found the image on my computer, and I upload it. And now I want to change the answer type, because remember, or the question type, because remember they are typing in their response. So I'm going to click the drop down menu, and I'm going to click on short answer so that they can type in the number. This one is going to be required. Then I'm going to click on answer key. I'm going to make this one worth 1 point. And then I'm going to type in the answer. And one thing I like to do with this one, because students have to type it exactly as you have it to get the answer correct. So I also like to provide an option in case they don't put the comma in, they still get this correct. So think about all the possible ways your students might answer and make sure that that your answer choices are typed those ways. Okay, then I'm going to click done, and I'm ready to add in station 3. So I'm going to add in a new section. This one is going to be station 3. And station 3 is a modeling activity. So basically they have this image that's a model. Then they're going to use the key to decode these words to figure out which label should go over each part of the model. So let's start by clicking Control C to copy and paste the directions. And this activity is called Model It. We're going to add a question, then Control V to paste those instructions. I'm going to adjust the formatting and proofread to make sure it's good for digital and add in any additional instructions that I need. Now, these are going to be short answer responses that they're going to type in separately. You'll see in just a second. And like I said before, when they're typing short answer, it has to be exactly the way that you have it. And that includes casing, whether it's uppercase or lowercase. So whenever I have short responses like these, I tell students in the instructions to use all lowercase letters. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to move that image over. So I'm going to do exactly like I've told you before. I'm going to highlight everything, save it as a JPEG or PNG, and then click on this icon to upload it here. I'm gonna do this very quickly. Okay, so now you can see I've uploaded this image. They can see the model, the key, and the words that they're decoding. And like I said, these are gonna be short response. We've got 5 different parts, so I'm actually gonna create 5 different questions where they're gonna type in each one. So I'm gonna change this to a short answer question. I'm going to say this is required, and I'm going to add in the answer for number 1. I'm gonna make it worth 1 point. The answer for number 1 is sediments. And remember, I told students to use all lowercase, so I'm typing my response in all lowercase and clicking done. Now I'm going to add another question so that they can respond to the next one. And I'm just gonna type number 2 so that they know this is where I type number 2, and I'm gonna go through the same process. It's a short answer, it's required. I'm gonna make it worth 1 point, and the answer to number 2 is sedimentary rock, and it's all lowercase. So I'm gonna do this for all 5 of the short answers. Now we're gonna speed this up so that we can keep this video moving. All right, I've got all 5 short answers in, so now I'm going to add a new section for section 4 or for station 4 by clicking add section. This one's going to be station 4. And station 4 is a dichotomous key activity where students are going to look at a dichotomous key to determine what types of rocks that they're looking at. So once again, I am going to copy and paste this, Control C. I'm gonna come back to my form. I'm gonna add a new question and Control V to paste the question. Now this one's going to require me to do some tweaking because I had a list, and unfortunately they will not let you list things out in your question. So I'm gonna do a little bit of tweaking on this. Okay, so what I did was I tweaked this a little bit, so I still have everything numbered since I can't put it on a list, and then I reminded my students to type their responses and to use all lowercase letters. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do like I've done before. I'm going to save the dichotomous key as either a JPEG or a PNG on my computer, and then I'm going to upload it by clicking this. All right, so you can see I've uploaded the dichotomous key, and this one's gonna be very similar to the one before. I'm going to make these all short answer, and we have 6 different rocks that they're identifying. So I'm gonna create 6 different questions where students are going to type in their answers. I've showed you how to do short answers, so I'm just gonna speed this up and move through it really quickly. All right, I've got all of those in there, so now I'm going to move on to section 5 by clicking the double bars, and this is going to be station 5. All right, station 5 is a matching game activity where students are going to match the words to each of the sentences, and then they're going to create a code using those letters. So once again, I'm going to copy and paste the directions by clicking Control C, and then I'm going to paste that into the form. I'm going to check my formatting and make sure that it is good for digital. For this one, I'm going to have them type all uppercase letters since it's a code, and I've even provided an example here. Now this one's going to be another short response question, so I'm going to speed it up and move really quickly. Basically, I'm going to save that as an image like I've done before, upload it here, and then I am going to add in the answer. Since we've done short response several times, we're going to move through this really quickly. All right, I've got this one ready, and so I'm going to add a new section and add in the last station, which is station 6. And for this one, they're going to read a passage and then answer comprehension questions. So once again, I'm going to Control C to copy the question. This one's called this or that. I'm going to add the question, paste it in. For this one, they're not going to create a code. They're just going to answer the multiple choice questions on the computer. So I'm just going to put select the correct response for each question. All right, so now I'm gonna save that passage with the model as an image, and then I'm gonna move it over like I've showed you how to do several times already. Now with this one, I'm gonna do something a little bit different, because as they go through and read the passage and then they go through the questions, I want them to easily be able to keep going back and referring to that passage. So I'm going to add an image before the questions. And to do that, I'm gonna click on Station 6, and then I'm going to add an image because I want the image to go after the title. And this is where I'm going to add in the image of the passage. Okay, so now you can see the images here, and actually I'm going to go ahead and move the directions for this station up above that as well. So I'm just going to click Control X and then Control V, and we're going to set it up this way. I think this is going to be a little bit easier for the students to refer back to as they answer each question. Now, each of these are going to be multiple choice, so I'm not going to have to change the question type. And to make it easy, I'm just going to copy and paste from the PowerPoint. So we're just going to move through this fairly quickly. So I just copied and pasted the question, and then I'm going to type in my answer choices. And then for a multiple choice, we're going to click required. For answer key, it's pretty easy. Give it the points and then select what the correct answer is. And I'm just going to repeat this for all of those multiple choice questions, and we're going to speed this up to keep things moving along. Okay, so I just finished putting in all of my multiple choice questions for the last challenge. So now I'm just going to add a section, and this is going to be where the story concludes. So they have completed all of the challenges, unlocked those locks, and so now we're going to conclude the story. And I am just going to copy and paste a little section from here. And then I'm going to add an image of an open door because we had a closed door at the beginning. So I'm going to click on image, and I have an image saved to my computer that I'm going to upload. All right, so now my image is here, and I have my escape room completely finished. So what I like to do once I'm finished with the escape room is I always like to preview it and test it to make sure I put in all the correct answers and go over everything. So if you click the eye icon up here at the top of the page, this is going to basically create a preview for you, and this is exactly the way students will see it. So if you remember with this question, I set it up so that if students click yes, it goes to the next question. If you click no, it's going to stay here. So watch this. If I click no, it doesn't go anywhere. If I click yes, it goes to the next one. Now I'm going to go through this very quickly. We'll speed it up. I'm going to put in all of the answers, and then I'll show you how students can check their work when they're finished. Okay, so we've made it to the end, and students will click submit. Now I intentionally answered some of the questions incorrect because I want to show you this is what it looks like when students check their answers. They got 17 out of 24 points. So that means at this point they can go through and they can review to see what they missed. You see these are marked wrong, so clearly they need to go back and review the rock cycle a little bit. But this allows students to self-check their work, and that is how you are going to create an escape room inside of Google Forms. Now, one last thing I want to say before we wrap this up is some people ask me, well, why do you do all these different question types? Why don't you just keep them all the same? And personally, I find that students stay more engaged when you have a variety of activities. When you repeat the same activities and question types over and over again in one escape room, students tend to get bored. So that is how I create escape rooms inside of Google Forms. There's all kinds of different ways you can create classroom escape rooms, so this is really just one way to do it. But if you just watched this video and you're thinking, that looks awesome, but maybe I just don't have the time right now to create a whole bunch of these digital escape rooms, that is okay. All of my science escape rooms are linked in the description for this video, so if you want to check those out, you can find that in the description. But until next time, happy teaching!